Pizza kindly donated some refreshments for you all, so at any point, just feel free to go back and grab some pizza. That's for everyone, presenters too, if you go ahead and do that. So, welcome to the Small Business Forum. Please feel free to take a seat. We are going to get started today by introducing Chamber of Commerce, but also Gold Beach Main Street, and then we'll go in, and we think the crowd is small enough, we'd love to hear who you all are and have you introduce sort of why you came here today as well. Do you want to start?
Sure. I'm Brody Carpenter. I'm with the Gold Beach Chamber of Commerce, and we are excited to help host this event just because we, as a chamber, are looking to get more involved and have more participation in the local businesses. And I think this is one good stepping stone in that direction. Basically inviting these guys down to speak on the resources that they can provide and allow you guys to hear what they can provide, and maybe they have some information or access to other things that you might not have right now. So, yeah, thank you.
Great, and I'm Ariel. I'm with Gold Beach Main Street. I work as the community coordinator, and I'm through the Resource Assistance for Rural Environment, so an AmeriCorps volunteer through the University of Oregon. And Brody and I decided to put this together because we also don't know what's available to business owners, and we think that Gold Beach Main Street and the Chamber of Commerce can be better resources as well. So this is one way that we could provide resources to local businesses. In the back, outside, you'll see that everybody brought different materials, so please feel free to grab folders, feel free to grab business cards if you hear something you want to ask more questions about. My business card is out there, as well as the materials from the presenters. We have 3 organizations with us today instead of 4. John Bacon from the Small Business Development Center won't be presenting today, but we do have with us Teresa Haga, sorry, I was like that wrong. Teresa Haga from the CCD Business Development Corporation. Okay. Then Sam Bach from South Coast Development Council. And then in the back here we have Julie Miller from the Oregon South Coast Regional Tourism Network. And then at the end of their presentations, we'd also like to sort of open up the floor and have a discussion with all of you as well. We have a little bit extra time without John presenting today, which is not a great thing, but it is a little bit of a blessing in that we can have more conversations about what resources are needed in the area and what's going on in Gold Beach. So if we can start, would you guys mind introducing just who you are and then what brought you here today?
I'm Shaquille. I'm from Murray Insurance. I'm an agent there, and we just want to get involved with the community. I moved here about 2 years ago, and so I really don't know a lot of the businesses and the people around the community. So I'd like to just kind of see what's out there, get more involved in the community.
Okay, great, thank you.
I'm Vanessa Short. I'm also an agent and a customer service representative at Murray Insurance, and I just moved here in November, so looking to learn as much as I can about everybody.
Great, thank you.
Beth Earl. I moved here 3 years ago. When I first moved here, I was looking for business networking groups, and I couldn't find any.
Sure.
And so I'm actually thinking about starting one because I still haven't found any closer than Grants Pass or Coos Bay. And I think there's a need for mastermind groups and just to learn business topics, customer service, and everything, marketing, social media, the whole thing. So I might be the one getting it going off the ground. In the meantime, I'm going to have an internet business. So.
Okay, good.
Hi, I'm Dawn Van Dort. I've been here about 6 years. I have a background in fitness, so I started a studio here, Spin Studio, aka the Spin Lady, some of you know me. But I'm expanding. I've got 3 other certified instructors that also want to start teaching and training, and we need a bigger space and kind of want something a little more visible than what I have right now. And some of you I've tortured already, so if you don't know me. But that's what I'm kind of looking to do, and also find out a little more about what's happening in our community, what is available, so I can let other people know too. Thanks.
My name is Shay Morja, and I own property here with my now ex-husband since 2007, and we were starting a farm stay. I have since divorced him, and so now I am starting a farm stay. So I've got 52 and a half acres, 3 miles north of town on Old Coast Road, and it's called Sunny Patch Ranch, and I'm just a mom, so I really have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm doing it. So welcome, thank you.
I'm Shannon Hughes. I've lived here 20 years. since 1999. I just recently started a sign business, 541 Sign Shops.
And I'm Amber Hughes, and I have our webmaster, and I build websites, so I'm just learning what's available.
I'm Shelley Carpenter. I'm with the Chamber of Commerce, and I also represent Advantech Manufacturing, which is probably one of the biggest employers here in town. And I just want to help our small town grow and keep people able to live here.
I'm Amber, this is Brandy. We have food trailer down in the port at South Heel Mouth. And we're just here to network and just find out about businesses and I'm Mariah. Oh, that's following me. Okay. I'm Mariah, Tim, Carpenter Tim in the mix. And I am starting Leavened, the bread bakery up 2nd Street. That'll be wholesale bread, hopefully getting out to various distributors here. And just wanted to learn more about what tools I have here. Yeah. This is my husband, Connor.
I'm Connor Tim, I'm helping.
He came for the pizza.
I'm Summer Madison, Curry County Economic Development and Gold Beach City Council.
Hi, I'm Kim Sheree Sharma, and I'm here with my husband Wes Sharma and my brother Scott Butler. And it's a pleasure to be here in Gold Beach. We recently moved from Colorado. We moved my skincare manufacturing company called K. Sheree, and we're reopening Endicott Gardens Bed and Breakfast. And so we're here to reach out into the community and kind of see what we can do to be part of this community to help it grow. We spent a couple years deciding to make Gold Beach our home, coming from Colorado, and we think it's an amazing place with amazing people. Wes has got about a 15-year background in commercial and residential real estate, and I was a corporate executive vice president for a bank for about 26 years. And I retired from that, and we're trying to get my brother out here to help us get this all going. So it's a pleasure to be here and learn more about what we can do to be part of Gold Beach.
Jody Fritz, City Manager, City of Gold Beach.
Michelle Fritch, I'm part of Gold Beach Main Street. I also run the Aspire program at the high school and the Snack Pack program for Gold Beach. And I'm part of the Grace Project for Coos and Curry County foster children. And I'm here to help us grow.
I'm Ann Talacker Hall. I'm the administrative assistant for the Gold Beach Chamber of Commerce. And I have lots of other hats that I wear, but that's what I'm wearing tonight. And very interested in what they have to present to help our small community and small business grow.
Can we have our camera person introduce?
I'm Karen Helgeson, and I'm here from Curry County Voices, which is our cable television station 182. And you can watch it online at currycountyvoices.com.
All right, so I guess we'll go ahead and we'll start with Julie.
Perfect, thank you.
You want to get 12 minutes?
Oh yeah, I'd like a 12-minute little wave to tell me I talked too much. Hi, my name is Julie Miller, and I am brand new at a position that represents the South Coast. It's called the Southern Oregon Regional Tourism Network, and I'm the manager, and it's the longest name ever, and the name was in place when I got there, otherwise it would not be the name. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the history of how we got to developing the position that I now hold, and then I'm going to jump into a little bit about what I do. Maybe. Okay, but first I want to talk about issues facing the South Coast. So now my job is really sort of focused in the tourism area, making sure that people understand that tourism is an economic driver on the South Coast. But if we really have to be honest about where we've been the last probably 2 decades, and I'm going to just highlight four of the places that I think we've had issues, and they're issues consistent on the entire Southern Oregon coast. And I do want to say my territory is Reedsport down to Brookings and then inland through the coastal range. That's up through Powers, and that also includes Agnes in those areas down here. But on the Southern Oregon coast, trust had eroded. Trust had eroded between our cities, our counties, our businesses, and the individuals. And I attribute a lot of that to the fact that we're cash-strapped area. So people were really just sort of like fighting for their own. And when you're fighting for your own and you're working with such little funds, it's hard to think outside of yourself. So we tended to sort of draw in, and trust had eroded. Funding, trust had eroded, we're working in silos, and a lot of that's attributed to our lack of funding. And funding across the board, and then just capacity. And capacity and funding are a funny thing. If you can get the funding, you probably don't have the capacity. But if you have the capacity, you're probably struggling to get funding. How many of you participated in the Rural Tourism Studios that happened here on the South Coast? Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right, we've got 3 of you. So I'm just going to give you a little brief rundown on the Rural Tourism Studios. Historically, Travel Oregon, which is our state tourism entity, and the Oregon Coast Visitor Center, which is the entity that handles tourism on the entire coast, have really, how do I say this nicely, they weren't showing the South Coast any love. They were really concentrating everything on the Central Coast and the North Coast. So we were really fighting that down here. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, and you all know what those reasons are. We don't have any great feeder market to our area, like Portland feeds into the North Coast, Eugene feeds into the South Coast. We're really isolated down here. So the state, in 2013, they sort of took a step back and they recognized that they weren't really paying attention to the rural areas. And it's not just the rural coastal areas. We're talking about Eastern Oregon. They were really trying to take the rural areas and fit them into their urban models, and it wasn't working. So they took a step back and they created these rural tourism studios. And they came into our communities, and it was over several months, and gathered people from Bandon to Brookings, and then they held a second one in Coos County. And we did sort of asset building. So we sat as a group and we identified what our assets were in the region and what we wanted to do with those assets long term. So we go through the rural tourism process, and now fast forward today, we have combined those 2 rural tourism studios, so we're working from Reedsport down to Brookings. And I'm going to go really quickly through what we've accomplished at this point. Okay. So the very first thing we jumped into was applying for the Scenic Bikeway, and that's in Port Orford. And we got together as a regional group and identified 3 areas that we wanted to look at for this Scenic Bikeway. And as a group, we decided the best place for it would be in Port Orford. So this, for me, was the first time 2 things happened. We stopped thinking of just ourselves. So, like, there was an identification in Coos Bay, there was an identification down in Brookings, but as a group we decided it should be in Port Orford. And then the second thing happened was we started to pull in groups who you don't normally think of as tourism related. So we're working with state parks, we're working with BLM, we're working with all the economic development entities in the area. The second thing we did was we put a scuba fill station in. I don't know if a lot of you know, but we have this amazing diving product. I'm not a diver, so I didn't know this. But what was happening was there was no place to fill your tanks. So we applied for grants and we were able to put a scuba fill station in. And this sort of worked on a tourism level, and then it also worked on a scientific level because there are marine what's it called? Red rocks out there. So people could use this as a scientific tool as well. And then we created, at the time what we created was the farm trail, and it went from Bandon to Port Orford. It is now expanded, and it's called the Food Trail. To do is create cycle stops in every single community, and they'll have sort of a consistent look, but we'll work with the communities to let you put your own flavor in. But so we're looking for something that would have a place where you can charge your cell phone, lockers, a place where you can repair your bike, and then a kiosk. But then each community can look at doing something a little bit different. And I know that Gold Beach already has a start on their cycle stops. Jody, you have a cycle stop down here.
Correct, it's at the Visitor Center.
Yeah. Fat tire biking becoming a really, really huge thing on all coasts, and we created a fat tire biking brochure, so we're out there publicizing fat tire biking. And what is really great about that, we were really thoughtful about how we created this. We wanted something that was useful for everyone. So like for instance, the one in Bandon is very family friendly. You don't really need a lot of skills to do that. But there are the John Dellenbach, you really need to know what you're doing. You have to be sort of a pro to ride on that. So we have a little bit of something for everybody. Water trails, we're starting to put water trail infrastructure in. Like the cycle stops, we're looking at putting in kayak launches in all the communities down there. So what we're really trying to do is build up infrastructure product that we can market out and make ourselves a destination. Are you all familiar with the Whiskey Run mountain biking? Wow, okay. So
It's in Coos County.
It is in Coos County, but what is really terrific about Whiskey Run, there are 3 phases, and we have already completed the first phase, which was 11 miles. It'll be a total of 30 miles, and this is on Coos County property. And the average lifespan of a mountain biking track is 30 years. And there is a 30-year growth cycle left within this Coos County property. So we're really utilizing property that otherwise would be sitting there and making it into a product that we can promote. So we're started funding, and we'll probably start executing phase 2 in the spring. But because we're looking at making this an attraction for the area, we're already coming down in Curry County and trying to locate where we can have a second mountain biking track so that we can really promote this out, because the research that we've shown says 30 miles is great, but if you can put a second one in an area which is in the same driving distance, you're going to get people to stay longer and spend more. So we're building up all this product, all this great product, and all of a sudden I call it like famine to feast, because we had nobody working in regional tourism I've been in tourism for 24 years, and there was nobody really working in regional tourism. I was at the Chamber of Commerce in Bandon. And so all of a sudden we're building these products up, and as we're building the product up, we decide that we need capacity to help sort of push this forward. OSU looks at our region and says they're interested in developing their very first tourism extension agent. So we have Miles Phillips located on the southern Oregon coast, working on guide training programs and customer service training programs and sort of community ambassador programs. Dave Lacey, who works with the Oregon Coast Visitors Association, and you may know Dave because he's located down here in Gold Beach. Gold Beach, yeah. So he's amazing. But so the Oregon Coast Visitors Association, for so many years didn't pay any attention to us, has hired a staff person to work in development directly on the southern Oregon coast. And then we have John Paul, who is working with TSOC, which is Travel Southern Oregon Coast, and it's the first regional tourism entity in our area. So that is sort of the history of how we got to the creation of the position that I hold. The state came to us as a group, and they said, what we're seeing is now you have so many people working in regional tourism, and you have all this product development, all these things that are going on, and what they were seeing is that we were sort of going like this, and nobody was connecting the pieces. And unintentionally, we started working in silos again. And so they came up with a model that they wanted to try out. So they're trying this networking model out in 2 areas. They're trying it out here, and then they're trying it out in the Gorge area. But the network is just a little bit different. So the mindset is that you're working for the greater good. So you're not working for yourself. We're stronger together than we are as individuals. Nobody is out there grabbing control. Everything that we can do, you can take back to your businesses or your boards or whatnot and say, hey, we did that. And then you're working alongside your peers, and the theory is, and something that I totally believe in, is that when you work together, you create a bond that sustains you long term. So now what's the role of the network manager? The network manager is just there to support stuff that you're already doing. We're not there to make any more work than you're doing. We're just there to be a resource and help you do what you do better. Okay, the mission of my organization is we collaborate to enhance economic development through sustainable tourism. So sustainable is a really big word there. We all love where we live, and we're all here for a reason. I'm here because I want to raise my daughter in a rural area where people are friendly, where I'm not afraid to let her walk to the store or walk to the beach by herself. But we don't want people to come in and sort of misuse our product. If you take a look at what's going on the North Coast, they're having an issue with people sort of eroding their tide pools, just an influx of people who they feel aren't being respectful to their product. And our product, a lot of what we have is outdoor recreation. So we want to make sure as we move down this direction that people are thoughtful and respectful to our area. So the purpose of our organization is to leverage relationships, opportunities, dollars. It's all about partnerships and collaborations. And we want to create consensus around priority projects. And we want to focus all of our organizations in a single direction. And that direction is to make our area into a destination. Now, when I talk about that last bullet point, a lot of people get a little bit uncomfortable because a lot of people say, hey, I don't want to be like Port Orford, I don't want to be like Coos Bay North Bend, I want to be my own sort of entity. So I have this slide, and I think this is great. So you kind of think of it as each one of those colors is our communities, our cities, and our businesses. And we're focusing in the same direction, and that direction is to make our area into a destination. But in the middle here, you go out, and everybody's sort of going out like this, and that's the individual communities retaining their own fun, funky charm, whatever it is that you have, that you love about your community, you're still doing it. So we're all going to the same place, but it's okay to take different routes to get there. And the idea of the network is just to make sure that everybody knows that we're going to the same place. So for instance, as a region, we are doing a Bay Area tourism, Bay Area trade show. And it used to be that only Gold Beach and Coos Bay North Bend did it. So now we've collaborated and we're doing it regionally. And we're sharing transportation costs. We're sharing a van so that not every single one of our communities has to rent a van to get our stuff there. We're doubling up on booth space. So we're sharing a booth space regionally. So we're just a whole lot of collaboration and partnership. So as we're building this new entity, the network, we have to say, right? I've got just a little more.
Keep going.
You got a little more. But the overarching thing of what we do is we want to build trust. But what we also want to do is we want to become an information hub for tourism. And then we want to move the needle of understanding that tourism is an economic driver in our region. And I think a lot of times people underestimate tourism as a driver for what the work that we do in our area. Create consensus around priority projects. And then when organizational success is difficult, the network can provide a space where collaboration assists project success. I love this one because working in the band and chamber for so many years, everybody has great ideas. But a lot of times you have a great idea and you can't figure out how to execute it. And in reality, you're never going to execute it as a single entity, but being able to reach out to other partners to help you with the lift, whether it's capacity or funding, or just having somebody to bounce ideas off of, we can get more done when we work together than we do individually. So I'm going to wrap that up there, but I will leave you with, that everything that we're doing is collaborations and partnerships. And you're going to hear from Teresa and Sam in just a minute. And Sam and I in particular, we partner on a lot of things. We go into communities and we help them together. And I think we provide a lot of value by working together versus going in individually. And then the last thing I will leave you with is that as I'm traveling around into the communities having these listening sessions, I'm realizing that it's sort of like pulling the layers off of an onion. And sometimes we have to address community issues before we can get to business issues or tourism issues. And that's now, in the beginning, that wasn't a part of my job, but now it is. So, thank you. I'm happy for questions. I was just all like, Sam was like, get her off.
Yeah, so if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them now, or Anne will also still have some time for questions.
Where is the OSU gentleman located?
He has two offices. He has an office in Bandon, and then he also has one in Coos Bay, North Bend, in the same office with Sam. They're developing a job sharing sort of office space up there. So we're basically, everybody is located in one area and shares resources and energies. Okay, one more. It's only one more question. Okay, thank you.
All right, so I think I'm up next. I will wait for people to get pizza if you want pizza. We all got it? All right. We all got it. Now's a great time for everybody to stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. Okay? All right, stand up.
These chairs have wheels on them.
I want everybody to put their hand on their heart and take one step forward. Okay, so if nothing else happens today, I touched your heart and made you move. So, my name is Sam. I'm with South Coast Development Council, and I don't have a PowerPoint, and I hope that's okay with you. I would rather just talk with you. The reason I'm involved, I am involved with a lot of things. My region runs from Florence down to Brookings. I spend a lot of time in my car. But one of the things I look at doing is helping to grow the economy. Now I'm going to ask you a question. What does economy or economic development mean to you? This is the interactive portion of today.
Jobs for everybody.
Jobs for everybody? Okay.
Keeping money local.
Keeping money local. Okay, what else?
Self-sustaining community.
Self-sustaining community. What else?
Services.
Services available. Okay, they're all good answers. What else? Yeah.
Helping people.
Helping people. Fantastic.
Doing what you like.
Doing
money at it.
Doing what you like and, if possible, make money at it, right? Okay? And so I'm just going to prove that everybody has a different definition of economic development. And they're all right. Every single one of those answers are correct. So when somebody tells me there's only one way to do economic development, I tell them, no, there isn't. It is what works for you. Okay? So this is my definition of economic development. Economic development to me is creating a place where my kids don't have to go away to get a good job. Where my kids don't have to move my grandchildren away from me. So that my kids can be successful. That's what economic development means to me. And that's what I work towards almost every day. Some days I go to the beach. But what we do is we really build a thriving and diversified business environment along the South Coast. Because we all want to work together. I have never met one single tourist that comes up to me and says, "What county am I in?" Have you guys met county am I in? Okay. Have you ever had them say, "I don't want to make it quite to Coos County today. Do you know where that line is so I don't cross over? No, that doesn't ever happen, okay? And so that's what I focus on, is helping blur those lines, because when people come here, they want the experience. 27% of the economy along the South Coast is tourism. So I dedicate 25% of my time to tourism in most areas. Now, the city of Reedsport, she talked about Reedsport. What do you think their economic driving, they want to be as an economic driver? What do you guys think?
Sand dunes. Yeah?
That's part of it.
Is that Reedsport?
But not really. They want manufacturing. They want to recruit manufacturers and build things. That's what they want to be known for, as an industry type city. Okay? As opposed to Bandon, what do you think Bandon wants?
Golf.
What? Golf? What does Gold Beach want to be known as?
Wild rivers.
Wild rivers.
Best
You know?
fishing.
Great fishing, absolutely.
Best ocean.
And so it has to be determined, each and every one, by the different cities. And we can all play together. We can all do these things. I was, all of a sudden I drew a blank. It must be after 5 o'clock. It's after 6 o'clock. My main focus is business retention and expansion. Because I've been in this job for a little over 18 months. And for my first 6 months, everybody would ask me, Sam, you're an economic developer. What are you going to recruit to come in here? We need a company that hires 200 people, and that would solve all of our problems. What do you think I told them? Nothing. I'm not going to do a single thing to recruit a business that needs 200 employees. And they look at me and they say, why? I said, because our infrastructure will not handle that. We do not, have you guys heard we have this thing called a housing shortage?
Yeah.
We have a housing crisis, okay? It's not even a shortage, it's a crisis. So if I recruit this company to come in, where are their people going to stay? Where are they going to live? If I recruit this company to come in, where are they going to shop? Now, don't get me wrong. I like McKay's and Ray's market, but I mean, they're still pretty busy already, right? If we recruit a company in, what is going to guarantee that they stick around? Because we all know what happened in the mid-'80s. We were known as two things here along the South Coast. What were we known for? Fishing and what?
Timber.
Timber. And what has happened to those two things? Fishing's awesome, but it's still highly regulated, right? Timber is still doing all right, but it's highly mechanized and regulated. And what happened to all those jobs? They're gone. And so if I recruit a company that needs 200 employees, what's the guarantee that they will stick around? So, like I said before, my main focus is business retention and expansion. The businesses that are here, we need to keep them here. And if we can help them get stabilized and help them grow, all I have to do is help 200 businesses grow by one person, and we just created 200 jobs organically. And so if one of those goes out of business, what happens? We can absorb that back into the system. That's what economic development means to me. Focusing and getting the needed resources down to the small businesses. Let me ask this. How many businesses here in Gold Beach have more than 50 employees? Two.
Mostly government.
And they're mostly government. You have the hospital and the county.
And free.
You're right, Freeman. Okay? But you're right, there's not very many, right?
Yeah.
Not very many at all. So that means the majority of the businesses are, I'm looking for a word, small businesses. I appreciate that. It helps with the hand signals. The majority of the businesses are small businesses. Do you, as a small business owner, feel like you get the support you need? When was the last time you went to a small business class? When was the last time you got help with marketing? When was the last time you got help with understanding how to work QuickBooks? When was the last time you got help doing accounting? When was the last time you got help understanding what a W-4 is and what's the difference between a W-4 and a W-2? And then what the heck is a 1099? Okay? Guess what? If any of those are questions for you, I can get you to the people that know things. And I can help set that up. Somebody talked about a mastermind group. I have been setting up mastermind groups, mostly up in Coos Bay, but I have a request from Brookings and Florence to set up mastermind groups, which it is a group of 8 to 10 business owners that get together once a month and say, hey, this is my problem, this is what I'm working on. And they have 15 to 20 minutes to explain their problem, and then everybody else around the table then becomes their board of directors and say, hey, I think this is what you need to do. And it has been, I've got such fantastic response out of it, and I'll share this example. We had one guy that he showed up to one of these meetings and he's like, honestly, I'm not even a small business owner yet, I'm thinking about doing this. And he has given me permission to talk about it. He picks up dog poop, okay? That is his job model. And he said, is there a market for this? And I said, well, I don't know. And we started talking about it, and everybody said, yeah, there is a market. And so he went out and he made some business cards and put some flyers out, and he came back the next month and he's like, you know, I've started handing out business cards and I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. And he didn't come back the next month. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. He didn't come back the next month after that, and I was a little concerned. And then I ran into him. And I said, hey, are you coming back to this? Honestly, I've been so busy, I haven't had time to come back to this class or this group because of the help that I've been getting. And that's what a mastermind group can do for you. And so if you guys are interested in doing that, I will come down and I will show you how to put those together. I've been involved with mastermind groups for about 10 years, and they are absolutely life-saving for a small business owner. Okay? Because honestly, what happens when you get the CEO, the head of marketing, and the janitor together in a small business? It's your personal time. You just sit there. It's just me. Okay? It's a joke.
I get it.
So I'm going to open it up for questions. What can I help you with? What are you struggling with? And
Well, the biggest challenge in this town, I think for me personally, has been advertising.
okay.
So you can put something on the radio, your best bet is to, put a flyer up and people might see it or might not see it. It's very, very challenging to advertise in this town. And I've been doing this for 6 years, so people are like, oh, I've heard, and
What is your business?
I have a spin studio and I teach boot camp classes and Pilates classes.
Now, one thing I found about Gold Beach is everybody's on Facebook.
Yes, Facebook is my
Nobody
market.
looks at it anymore. It's so all my friends go, I don't even look at that anymore because there's so much garbage on it. Nobody wants to look at it anymore.
I would kind of agree with you, but everybody that says I'm not on that anymore, at least
Maybe
it's on
that's
the
their
scroll
excuse
through.
they tell me.
It is an excuse, and it actually is working very, very well for a lot of the clients I'm working with. It's very targeted Facebook ads. And the demographics are amazing, okay? Also, who is your demographic? Who is your ideal customer?
Everybody.
No. I want you to be specific. If you were to see, who is the person that walks in every time and you say, I need that, you are my person, I love you.
Everybody. It's all ages and different motivations and it's health.
So I would say...
It's really hard to specify one type.
I would say let's narrow it down. Get very specific in your demographic. You can still grab these other people, but when you very specifically understand who your demographic is, you can target it. Because if your demographic is the 20 to 30-year-old female that is going through college, there's not a college here, I understand that. But I mean, we can narrow that down, and guess where they're at? You're right, they're not on Facebook. Where are they at, younger people?
Instagram.
Can you take a picture of somebody on your on their spin?
I do that, yeah.
Are you posting that on Instagram? Are you posting that on Pinterest? Are you
Hey, I
posting
got
that
2
on?
spots left
Okay.
tonight, anyone in, I'll get 2 or 3 likes.
Okay. But yeah, hey, let's get together, let's brainstorm some stuff. Yeah.
So as a mastermind group right now, I just moved back here from Arizona where I was a part of a boot camp, and they had different classes during the day targeted to different people. So it was a boot camp for everybody, but because sometimes the older people didn't want to be there, showed up by the younger people, they had classes specific to these age groups, and they had classes specific to women. They had classes, and then there was the everybody classes, but they had one class of things where they had people that were maybe a little bit more, I don't know, timid in their fitness. And
They're a little more self-conscious. Yeah.
That
would be me, but.
And it did really well. So targeting, might be exactly what you need to do. And then once the word of mouth gets out there, and you get a whole bunch of, moms of young kids, and you get a whole, then they start spreading.
Well, that's the only reason I have any classes, like right now, I'm teaching 12 classes a week, and they're all free. So it's not really a problem, but that's the only thing that's worked is word of mouth. Or just, hey, you gotta try this, I go to this, but then I still gotta get them in the door.
Right. Well, that's why getting the targeted groups is going to fill those particular classes. So
I have to find them.
You gotta get them.
And we,
Yeah, it's challenging.
so John Bacon, who was supposed to be here tonight, he had a thing he had to take care of with the Small Business Development Center. He has a way to look at demographics and help you choose and pick out exactly who your model is, and it will tell you if anybody that lives in this area meets your demographics and how many people there are that meets that. So, anyway, what other questions you guys got for me? Yeah.
I guess there's a couple things I'm interested in finding out. Is there a way to conquer the no major airport? That seems to be the problem with people coming to visit me, because we have to go to Portland all the time to pick them up, because they can't get cheaper airfare and they don't want to ride little planes to Coos Bay or whatever. And the other part is no car rental agencies here either. Those two and...
I hear your pain.
And
That's
people,
all I'm
people living here having to go to specialists out of town all the time.
Right. Right now, just in North Bend, we're actually just trying to figure out how to get a flight from North Bend to Portland. And that's involving a lot of backing from other companies. The airline says, we can't afford to fly there, we're going to lose money. And so we actually have some companies that are putting up what they call a backstop so that the company won't ever lose money. And so basically the company will say, I will buy this many seats from you every month if they're not already sold. But that's a lot of work, and it's taken a while. But I think this month, I think it's this month, it's either February or March, they get to take that packet and apply for a grant that will fund some of that backstop money, and then they can take that to the airline and say, hey, look, we have this put together for you. And that's how we have to do that. We have to grow it organically. I doubt we will ever have a major airport in Curry County, unfortunately. We do have the Cape Blanco Airport, which, I mean, if I understand it right, that can withstand a nuclear attack. It's so well built. But unfortunately, there's a lot of other issues with that one. And of course, Gold Beach has a great private airport, but it's a little tough getting a commercial thing in here. One of the ideas is doing like a puddle jumper that goes and it just hits every little small town and ends up in the connection point, but that also gets a little bit pricey.
So is everyone familiar with Contour Airlines and that they're flying into Crescent City? I mean, because that puts it, within an hour.
So not anymore with the highway down.
It only goes to Oakland, so you have to fly in and out of Oakland.
Right.
Yeah.
But see, but driving to North Bend, they only go to San Francisco and occasionally to Denver right now anyway. So, you're...
Still making those connections.
Yeah.
Why are there no car rental places? I never realized that there was one.
There's one at Crescent City Airport, and there's one at North Bend Airport, and Toyota in North Bend.
There's actually several in Coos Bay, North Bend.
Yeah, and I think not Coast Auto, but the Carpenter Auto in Brookings is a car rental as well.
Yeah, there are a few, but all of the car. So what we have to do is we have to build our demand, because again, we build the demand and people come, right? If we had an airport that landed here, guess what? We would have a car rental place, because people fly in and they need to go places. A car rental place in Gold Beach, it's not cost effective for them to have somebody standing there day after day, because everybody that's visiting here is coming in already in a vehicle, unfortunately. So if we had a major port where people were unloading off of a ship, guess what? We could do that. And
It seems like a lot of people fly, because I work at Spinners at night, and there's a lot of people, they fly in to, Vancouver or Portland or whatever, and then they drive the whole coast down. It seems to be like a big trek. So that's why everyone just stops at each town on the way down. Everybody's like a one-night stop. So that makes sense then too.
Okay. All right. He's giving me a thumbs up. I'm done. Thanks, guys.
Well, that's a pretty hard act to follow. I should have went first. Well, my name is Teresa Haga. I'm the Executive Director, Finance Manager at CCD Business Development Corporation. I've actually worked for CCD 19 years now. We were actually formed, we are a private nonprofit corporation formed in 1971, so I'm still amazed that we've been around 47 years. And I go places and people say, what's CCD? So it is something that we struggle to deal with, to get that awareness out, but we've been in these communities for many, many years. We are a nonprofit, and so when we were formed, we are an economic development organization, but our goal was, how do we look at it regionally? And I think that's kind of our goal kind of tonight, is how do we deal with it regionally? Every area, every city, every county has economic development point people that are trying to do things within their communities. Well, when our board was formed, it was members from Coos, Curry, and Douglas County that came together and say, okay, how can we look at what we're doing on a regional basis, which is really the key. And I think, like Julie says, when we look at things, we are going to get much further down the road if we work together. Because this is where we're located, in the actual assets and our infrastructure and just our resources. We can't do things without really looking for some partnerships. That's where we're going to get more bang for our buck. So we currently have a 25-member board of directors. Jody sits on our board. Sam's one of our board members. So our board is made up from Coos, Curry, and Douglas County members. It's volunteer. They do have to meet certain guidelines because of the types of programs that we administer. But we have very long-term, dedicated individuals that step up to do economic development on behalf of CCD and our region. Basically, what we have done over the years is kind of grown, as you say, organically, in the sense of how can we, again, make sure that our programs and services are meeting the needs of our region. Approximately about a year after we were actually formed, we were designated an economic development district. And I don't know if most of you realize that those are actually nationwide. I think there's 12 total in Oregon, but it's a nationwide designation by EDA. And what that does is it basically says, okay, you as an organization, we're going to give you a grant. Ours is currently $75,000 a year to go out to communities and help them with any potential needs they have. And that might be, okay, currently Powers might have some issues with their sewer. And so DEQ is kind of saying, we're going to fine you unless you deal with this. Well, Powers might have 2 staff employees. So we would go out to the city of Powers, And we would sit down there and say, how can we assist you? Can we write you a grant? We'll work with you and DEQ and see how we can help that staff because they just don't have the staffing and the qualifications to meet that needs, that community. So that's what helps fund that. So, and again, it's a small part of what we do, but it's probably the backbone of what we do, okay? In about 10 years after we were formed, we were also designated a certified development company by the SBA, the U.S. Small Business Administration. And what that meant is now we could actually go out and help small businesses with the 504 loan program. We actually do that statewide. So we market, we actually market, package, close, and service that on behalf of the SBA. So in a sense, we're an independent contractor. And so what that does, it says, okay, we can go and, act on their behalf without having offices throughout the whole United States. They will contract with certified development companies to do that on their behalf. Really why we got into that was because we needed to, again, to sustain our services, and that gave us a steady income monthly by servicing that portfolio on behalf of the SBA. So it's a steady income to a nonprofit to continue to offer the services in the regions that we live, where our families live. Okay, so we have projects all over the state of Oregon in that program. Our mission is to encourage economic development, diversify local economies, support industry, and enhance the quality of life for all in the region. And then our vision is to provide opportunities for proactive economic growth through diversification and expansion. So that's really pretty much our backbone. What we do, and this is a little harder for me to explain because we do a lot. And we have two different departments, and so I'm going to try to explain them different because I think that makes more sense. You're probably going to get more out of the loan side, but I also want to explain the community economic development side because that provides the base that helps support businesses, okay? So on the loan side, we have commercial financing programs, so we offer many different revolving loan funds. Again, we're the certified development company. We also administer other loan funds for other entities. Like right now, we are the administrator for the Port Abandon Economic Development Fund's revolving loan fund. I think we've been doing that for approximately 28 years. We also do, the City of Drain has a revolving loan fund, and we are also under contract to administer that on their behalf. So we offer our services in other entities too. On the Community Development Department side, we do project development and administration. We also write grants and provide administration services for that. We do environmental reviews and labor standards monitoring services, and we are also under contract to be the enterprise zone managers for the enterprise zones throughout our region. And again, our region is Coos, Curry, and Douglas County. We also are, through that EDA designation as an economic development district, we are under the requirement to do the local SEDS. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with SEDS, but the next slide, I wanted to make sure you understood that. And what the SEDS is, it's basically, it's a role that we play in identifying priority projects within our region. It basically assists local governments in applying for grants and through EDA and other sources. And a lot of this has to do with more of the infrastructure, like your wastewater facilities. It could do the libraries. It could be anything community driven. And that's really what this document basically tells as a region what our priorities are. So every year before this gets ready to renew, we spend a year meeting with stakeholders. We'll invite people to the table, cities, special districts, hospitals, anybody that we can think that wants to have a voice. We want to ask them, what do you think our issues are? What are our strengths? What do you think we're going to be looking at as far as, not just right now, but maybe 5 years from now? What do you think are, a lot of it's transportation, airports, it might be workforce. So again, this document takes everything into consideration, puts it into one document that is utilized for the next 5 years. And a lot of it has to do with, okay, so if somebody goes to apply for a grant, the City of Gold Beach wants to apply for a grant for for some facility. Maybe it's their wastewater treatment plant. And they go to EDA, and EDA says, well, is that one of your needs? Is that one of your needs? Has it been identified as an issue in your SEDS? That's why it's really important that we want to make it as broad and include as much as we can so that when that entity needs that funding, there's sources out there to go after. Our team is pretty small. We have 6 full-time staffers, and we have 1 part-time, and we have 2 offices. Our head office is located in Roseburg, Oregon. Tracy Loomis was actually going to be here to talk about the community economic development side, because that's kind of her area. But she's snowed in. We have not had our office open there since Monday. We have our second office is in Coos Bay. So between the two, we cover Coos, Curry, and Douglas County as far as our main region. Louis is actually a part-time loan officer out of the Portland area. Our lending programs, and that's going to probably be what you kind of want to hear a little bit more about. So I'll try to get into that a little bit more. But I wanted to give a little background because, again, we've been around for 47 years, but we didn't apply and create our first revolving loan fund until about 1976. So it's not quite 47 years, but in that time frame, we've loaned 452 loans to small businesses. We've actually loaned directly from our funding sources over $142 million. We've leveraged over $391 million. Does everybody know what leverage means? Okay. So what that means is, let's say I'm going to go out for a loan, and I typically have to put 20% down. But I might be also in a situation where I have multiple lenders. The leveraging part is the other part of a project. So basically of our 142 million, it's almost 2 times, almost 3 times leverage. So that's a really good positive thing. That means it takes partners to come together, a lot of partners to come together. It's not all borrower's injection, that's other funding sources. So that's the leveraging, and it looks really good to our area that we can come and say, these revolving loans funds have really made a difference, and we've leveraged our money. We've stretched it as far as we could. And it's created over 4,200 jobs and retained over 2,500 jobs. And that kind of fits into Sam's kind of talk. Our goal is job creation and retention. Doesn't mean it's a requirement, but we want to see these funds doing that. And what we mean by that is, if somebody comes to me and says, I need to borrow $250,000. And I say, well, great. And I might say, well, how many jobs do you think are going to be created or retained? And they'll look at me like, well, why do you care? Well, because we want to make sure that this money is making a difference. Doesn't mean we're not going to support your project, but we want to be able to see that, okay, when we go after more money and we go to USDA or EDA and they say, well, you guys want to apply for another round of funding. Yeah, we need more money. We're out of money. We want to be able to help more businesses. And they'll say, well, how many jobs are you going to create, or how many have you created? That's where that really makes a difference, because they want to make sure that money's making a difference in our rural communities. And so having that job creation and retention is key. We're not saying that we're not going to support it even if you're a one-man show and it's only going to create 1 job. We don't care, but we want to be able to track that, because we do want to see that jobs are being created and retained. I kind of narrowed it down so you guys got a little bit more information as far as your county. So basically, out of that 452 loans, 40 of those loans were to Curry County businesses. And over almost $8 million of it was directly to those small businesses. That's pretty amazing, if you ask me. And that's why I say we're not good about tooting our horn, but these programs have made a difference in this community. And again, that's, Brookings, they're not all on Brookings. Right now, we currently have Arch Rock. We funded Arch Rock. It's one of our success stories. And again, they started with the Small Business Development Center, worked their way, and ended up in our office. And our goal is, with these types of funding, is to get you to the point where a traditional bank will either say, yes, we want you now, you basically fit our box, or maybe they're already involved and and we're just asked to be a partner. I'll give you an example. So let's say that you're in business. Of course, we do startups, but if you're already in business and you need a new location, and that's going to cost you $1 million. That makes easy math of me. Well, if you go to your conventional lender, which is where we're going to have you start, because we're not a bank, so we're not here to compete with your local lenders. We want them to be able to say, yes, we want to do the deal. But they might say, yes, we want to do the deal, but we want you to put 20 or 30% down. And you'll say, well, I don't want to do that, I can't afford to do that. So then they'll hopefully will say, well, we have other funding sources that maybe will partner with us. So they will typically call us and say, I have this deal, I have this borrower, these are the kind of funds that we need, and this is what it's going to be used for. Would CCD be interested in being a partner? We will look at, from our revolving loan, we will look at it if it's a partnership request or a turn down. And what I mean by that is because we're not a bank, we're not allowed to compete with them, okay? So they, again, for audit purposes, we need to know that we've had that kind of documentation. We're not here to take those projects away. On top of it, we want to make sure that our money is available for truly needed businesses that can't have access through a traditional channel at that point. So we want to save that money. Again, our revolving loan covers Coos, Curry, Douglas, Jackson, Josephine, and soon to be Lane. Again, because we kind of are on the coast, we want to make sure that Florence, if Florence needs us. But those funds cover those core counties. It provides assistance for pretty much anything. It could be a feasibility study, but typically it's for land, building, construction, leasehold improvements, working capital, and equipment. Those are the types of uses that our funds go for. On these ones, we'll do as small as $25,000 up to $250, or 75% of the total project cost. Okay? These funds will not make a bad loan good, but they could make a good loan possible. Okay? So I would like to plug that in a little bit. Our 504 is statewide, and that is really geared for economic development that would not happen. This is a new hotel. If you head into Eugene, if you look right down off the river, when you cross the bridge or right before you cross the bridge, that's a new Fairfield Inn. That was one of our newer 504s. And why I use this program is, again, most lenders, I think that was probably, if I remember right, it's about a $12 million project. Most construction, ground up construction, most traditional banks are not wanting to do that without some type of government guaranteed program. And what I mean by that is either the 504 or the USDA BNI. So in other words, it's too big of a project for them to pull the trigger and say yes without having that kind of partnership. So we come in and we typically do 40% on a structure, making it easy math on me. So the bank on $1 million deal would do $500,000. We would do $400,000 in a second lien position, and the borrower would only have to put 10% down versus 20 or 30. So the pluses there is that, again, lender is going to say yes because they're only exposed 50%, and they have that business, they have that borrower. SBA is coming in at 40% of that project at a fixed rate. If it would have funded last month on a 25-year term, it would have been fixed at 4.86% for 25 years, and the borrower only had to put 10% down. So that's why these programs work for these bigger dollar projects. On the community economic development side, and even though it's Tracy's side, I really wanted to make sure that we highlighted some of what that does. And again, it's more for infrastructure support. And what I mean by that is, like your libraries. She highlighted Port Orford Library, the City of Gold Beach wastewater treatment plant, Pelican Bay Heights water improvements. These are projects over here that we've actually participated or had some type of involvement in. As far as current projects, we're working on the Brookings Head Start building remodel, and the total project right now is over $2.1 million that we're actually actively working in. And why this is important as far as business, without this kind of infrastructure, you would have no businesses. Supporting infrastructure and your community needs as far as that, you don't have the community support and infrastructure in place to have businesses. So we can't have jobs unless we really make sure that this is a part of what we support, even as business owners. Having adequate, yes, housing is important too, but having the water and sewer in place, having good roads, having good internet service. Yes, we'd love to have planes and airports and ports, but sometimes when you're rural, just having that basic systems to support the growth and the needs of your current businesses is really, really key. So that is economic development. It really needs to be supported. So a lot of what we do, our backbone, even though we don't make so much money on this side, where we make the money is on the lending side. But we need to support this because that's really our mission, okay? We also, as the enterprise zone managers there's 8 between Coos, Curry, and Douglas County. You guys have 2. You have the Gold Beach Enterprise Zone, which was designated in 2002. It had a boundary change in 2008. It was reauthorized in 2012, and it's due to terminate in 2023. There's a new one called Curry County Enterprise Zone, was designated in December of 2018. It terminates in 2025. And really what this program is basically another tool in our toolbox to have to offer businesses as an incentive to do something. What I'll give you an example is, let's say I am a business owner and I'm located in an enterprise zone, in Gold Beach Enterprise Zone. And I need to upgrade my equipment. I'm going to spend $500,000 on new equipment. Well, if I apply and I meet the authorization and timing issues, which is basically you just need to do something before you buy the equipment. You need to go through the application process. It just gets stamped with the date, and if I get that in place and then I go buy it, it qualify for the enterprise zone. And what that does is that $500,000 investment that I just made into my business, I don't have to pay personal property taxes to the county for 3 years. That's the minimum, okay? So it's an incentive to say, currently as a business owner, to do something, put that investment in, maybe create some jobs. A new business looking to locate here, okay, I want to locate, so is there any incentives that you can give me? Well, yes, if you locate here within this area, you're going to get that incentive if you want to use it or not. Again, it's going to help businesses, current business expand, it's going to create some jobs, it's going to help maybe a new business say, pull that trigger and say yes, and eventually that asset will be added onto the county tax rolls and they'll actually be earning some taxes on it. Partners, kind of like what you've heard from the previous two speakers, partnerships are key. It really does take a village to get anything done. I'll give a good example. It's always the one I go to because I think it's such a great example. Everybody's kind of been hopefully to Face Rock Creamery in Bandon. That was a project that basically took multiple partners to pull the trigger. When he came into town and said, I want to do this, he had no background in making cheese, but he had done his homework. He had went and said, I'm a developer, I know what I'm doing, I have history to show it. I went out and asked the original farmer who provided the cream to the original Bandon cheese factory. He's on board. I even got his son, who's been a cheesemaker up in Seattle, to agree to come back and work for me. And the city, if you'll do this, I will get this done. And they said, well, it's on our land, and through our urban renewal, we'll give you a 50-year lease. And if you can get it built, it's yours for a very reasonable amount. But when he went out to actually, it was about that time frame when things were just kind of coming out of the recession and no traditional banks wanted to do ground up construction. They said, well, you have a great idea, but we're not going to get them for it. So it was the predecessor at South Coast Development Council that sent this individual to my office, and they said, what can you do? I said, well, I can take it to CCD, and I can take it to the Port of Bandon, and I can get it to $500,000. If we were on board, maybe we can get somebody else to look at it. So that's what we did. We went to our board and approved $250. We went to the Port of Bandon and they approved $250. And then we actually went to the state of Oregon and they agreed to do the equipment portion, was about $800,000. And then we finally got a lender, Craft 3 out of Portland, to fund the construction. But it took 4, besides the borrower's injection, to make this happen and create that job and bring that tourism basically back to a community that really thrived when it was there. Less than 24 months later, he was able to refinance through a traditional bank and pay everybody off. So these programs, and that's really a success story. It takes partners. It might take multiple people coming to the table to make something happen for you. If you hear no once, don't stop, because you're going to probably hear no a lot. But if you get the right resources and the right connections, you're probably eventually going to hear a yes, if it's a good project. What I tell people when they're looking for financing, because I'm sure most of you probably are at the point where you're thinking that's why you're attending this, is even if you don't come to me, make sure you're prepared. You know, the best thing you can do for hopefully getting that successful outcome that you want is to not walk into your lender. Now, if you want to just talk about stuff, that's different. Say, I just wanted to run some stuff by you. But if you're actually serious and saying, I need to borrow some money, and you tell me, I need to borrow $350,000 for a piece of equipment. I said, okay, well, do you have a bid? Do you have some type of documentation to show that it's going to cost? Well, no, I just think I need that. Well, how do you know? You might need $500,000. That tells me that you're really not that serious because you don't have you at least, you know, even if you're thinking, okay, I need to do an expansion, I need some construction type stuff done, it's always better to actually kind of gather the information, do your homework, make sure that you know, so that when you actually get into sitting in front of somebody and start asking for those funds, that you really do have the backup to support that. Because they're going to take these more serious. They're going to say, okay, well, you might have some homework to do here, but I'm still on board. I still have that warm, fuzzy feeling. I don't have that feeling in my stomach that, probably not the best risk. You know, but have a business plan developed. The Small Business Development Center, John, who would have been here tonight, is the best place to start. If you have never done a business plan and you're thinking about doing a business, it's a useful tool not only for your lender, but a useful tool for you. It's going to make sure that you have thought through the process to make sure that this is really what I want to do. Yes, I have an ideal and it sounds great, I think I can do it, but if I actually start doing a business plan and find out who my competitors are and how I'm going to the cost it's going to take to actually make it or provide that service, and then I have all these other expenses, and I might need an employee and all these other things, bottom line is, when it's all said and done, I'm not even making enough money to pay myself. Okay, well, if you have somebody else that can cover your personal stuff, that still might be worth doing if it's something that's driving you, because again, things can grow over time. But by having that business plan, you're going to make sure that this is the right step for you and your family. My personal in-house revolving loans funds require a business plan. I typically will want to look at your business plan, what the funds are going to be used for, and the collateral that's going to be used to secure it. And most lenders are going to be the same way. If you go to a traditional bank and you want a line of credit or something, they're not going to require that. But especially for a startup, you usually will always be asked to have a business plan. Know your customers, know your business, and know your market. And again, that kind of falls in. But there's tons of resources out there. And I always say people don't realize how many resources that are in their communities that are free and confidential. You know, people want to see businesses succeed, jobs being created. So if you just think, okay, I want to just run some stuff by people like you brought up. How can I actually get, work that a little bit different? Or how can I think differently? We're not saying what you're doing is wrong, but there might be some support that's going to make your business even do better. And that's what they're for. That's what we are here for. We're here to help support that. And these resources are here. They've been here. It's just, we're so small, and as nonprofits, it's very hard to educate and be out there constantly explaining what we do. We don't have a marketing where we have ads all over the place. It's just hard to make sure that people realize what we do and what we offer as far as programs and services. We are an equal credit opportunity lender, so we don't discriminate. We don't have anything like that. So, and we are regulated by the federal government, but we're not a bank, so there's a difference. And I think that's pretty much it, unless you have some questions.
I have a question. When I go around things in my listening session, the number one thing is people just getting started. Is there like a place you can go and get a punch list of the things that you need before you even go to you or to a bank or something like that?
Most entities like us, but I'm not the only. There's other organizations that do lending. Neighborhood Works, I don't know if they still have a business. I know they have home lending.
They have
but,
home lending.
But I don't know if they're doing business anymore. But there's other, actually the Small Business Development Center has a small revolving loan fund too that they put out through the state. But most of our website, if you just Google and you go to a couple websites, most of them will have their application, which has a checklist. Like our application has a checklist of, and it might not, everything on that checklist might not pertain. So in other words, if you haven't decided if you're going to be an LLC or organization, that's not going to be something that I'm going to need for you. But it gives you an outline exactly what the borrower is going to need to provide. But I wouldn't actually rush out and do all that work until you actually, what I would consider is a pre-screen. The business plan, what you're going to need, what you're going to use the money for, and the collateral that you're going to offer on the table to secure it. I've been doing this for 19 years. I don't know any free money for profit businesses. I've never come across somebody, people will say, well, is there any grant programs out for businesses? I've never come across any. I know you hear those things on TV, and there's books out there, but I think if I found something like that, I would have grabbed onto it and I've been sharing it with everybody. But if you're a for-profit business, there's not any free money out there. And there's not a lender that's going to loan you money unless it's an angel investor or a family or something that's going to loan you a couple $100,000 and not want some form of collateral. We're more liberal than a traditional bank of what we'll take. We typically start with the assets of the business, and then we go out to the personal assets, and if they don't have enough there or don't have anything there, we're more liberal in the sense of what else. Maybe you have a family member, or maybe there's somebody who doesn't want to be tied to the business, but they want to support you, and so they have some collateral that they're willing to offer. We're more liberal in that sense. We're not going to tie that person to the actual note, but we'll use their collateral to approve your request. Any other questions? That's usually what I'd say. Is there's kind of and most lenders are going to require the same thing. If you've been in business, you're going to want to see your last 2 to 3 years tax returns. If you haven't been in business, they're going to want to see your personal tax returns, and they're going to want to see your like 2 years projections. And if you're in business and you're like going to expand and your current financials don't support what you're asking as far as debt service coverage, and does everybody know what I mean by debt service coverage? That you're going to make enough money to pay the debts that you have and what's being projected that you're taking on. And most lenders want to see at least a 1.25 to 1, and that's very minimal. So they want to see at least you making $1.25 to $1 of debt. Okay, that's pretty much the government standard, like SBA standard. SBA is not considered a collateral lender. They're considered a debt service lender. In other words, we're going to take collateral, but we're not going to base our decision of giving you a yes on the collateral. We're going to make our decision of giving you a yes on that you can pay the debt. That we're setting you up to succeed, not to fail. We don't want to be a liquidator. We don't want your property. We don't want to have to be selling or running your business. We want you just to be able to pay us back. CCD's in-house is a little bit different. Debt services coverage is important, but we also want to make sure that we have some form of collateral that if for some reason the business just doesn't make it, that we can actually reclaim some of our money back. So again, it revolves back in, and we can help more businesses out there. Because if we make all bad loans, money goes away, we can't help any more businesses. Because we're not a bank. We make money by putting the money out, charging extra interest to come in, it comes back in, it revolves back in, and helps more businesses. That's what it's called, a revolving loan fund. It goes out, comes back, goes out, comes back. Okay?
Alright, so we have a couple more minutes, and we do want to see if we can have a little bit of a discussion. We do know that John Bailey was mentioned a couple of different times, the Small Business Development Center, and if you let us know your email address and your phone number, we'll send you out information, and if we're able to have John Bailey come down a separate time, and you guys are interested in having a meeting with him, we can set that up for you. And then Brody has some questions, I think.
Yeah, so there's one question I want to just put out to you guys. So basically, what are you missing as a business person? Basically, we want to find out what is your, if we could pinpoint one general thing that everybody could benefit from again, and have another kind of session. What would that look like? I mean, what would it be? I know for me personally, it'd be a marketing workshop of some sort. But I want to know what other people are thinking. Yeah.
Small business financial stuff.
Just like how to do your finances as a business? Okay,
Yes.
that's a good thing. Anybody else? Marketing? Would be a good one for you?
Marketing.
Something like that?
Well, I have one kind of question about what you said about just, the 125 to $1. If you're somebody like me right now, I have 9 spin bikes, and it's the first level of my house. My neighbors are starting to hate me because the classes are so busy, people are always coming up and down the street, slamming doors, blah, blah, blah. I need a bigger space so I can make more money, I can add more bikes. So it would be hard for me in this situation to go from a small space, kind of like going from a food truck to a restaurant. That's the whole reason I want to expand, because the demand is there.
That's why that projection. We've helped a fitness place that was working out of in Coos County, that was working out of her home, was maxed out on her location. I mean, she had a separate studio. Relocated to a building, but when she first went in, she wanted to buy the building straight out. And with her working with the Small Business Development Center and CCD, we both talked her out of doing that going into this next expansion. We told her to lease with option to buy for 5 years. You know, and the seller who'd been working on trying to sell that building for a long time, you know, of course, grabbed the opportunity, even though they didn't get full cash out purchase, but it didn't put her in a position to have that huge debt off the bat. Gave her time to prove through her financials that she could support taking on that, purchasing that building versus actually leasing it with option. So for like you, if you found a larger location, and again, you looked at your financials and you figured, okay, I'm gonna have to increase my income or my people coming in by this amount to service that. That's where we can help in the small business development, because again, you'll be sitting down and thinking, okay, what's my break-even point? What do I actually have to increase what I'm currently doing to be able to expand into that larger location or buy that additional equipment? It's really key because, again, we want to set you up to succeed. We don't want you to grow to the point where now you can't service the debt that you just took on. Your business fails and now everything's lost through that expansion. So it's really key to use those resources if you're not comfortable doing it yourself. And they're there. So, but yeah, I mean, if you're at that point where you can't make any more money where you're at because you're at that maximum point, it's worth at least looking at if you can expand and support it. You know, to develop some of this stuff, to give that support to the community, the small business community.
Yeah, it sounds like we need to, I would like to start some sort of group where we can bounce things off of each other as businesses. Like maybe I know something that you don't know, or you know something that I don't know, or those kinds of things.
And maybe there's an attorney or an accountant that's a chamber member that wouldn't mind volunteering some of their time versus actually charging for it. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
I think they need to at least be able to talk to somebody to find out what the next step is, if they need to put out money or something like that.
Yeah.
Would it be possible maybe for you to just run down a little bit of what the chamber does and what Main Street, Gold Beach Main Street or whatever does? Because literally we opened September 5th and we walked into the city of Gold Beach. We gave them the money, we got our business license,
And
that
you're-
was
you're
it.
done.
And
You're in it.
we don't know. Well, yeah, literally like the day before we opened, we got, in and did it. So,
Sure, yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you guys do, I don't know, so.
Yeah, well, the chamber, Gold Beach Chamber, is kind of in a beginning stages as well. Really, I don't know, how many years has it been again since you kind of walked back in on it?
Since I came in?
Yeah.
I've been involved with it for about 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I've been in it for about a year now. And basically we're at a point where we're trying to get a clear vision of what we want to offer or can offer. We want to be able to be more than somebody pays a membership a year and they get like a little spot on the chamber website, and if somebody calls the office, get referred to you. We want to offer you more resources and be in a position to maybe facilitate these kinds of discussions. And so this is kind of our first attempt at creating something like that, more like community-based, giving something to our members that seems worth having a chamber for.
Yeah, Gold Beach Main Street, Gold Beach Main Street primarily focuses on Ellensburg Avenue, but they have the ability to work with businesses in other parts of the city. And if you grab this folder, it sort of runs through what we do. At the moment, what I'm doing for 2 business owners is I'm writing a grant to help rehabilitate 2 historic properties. A lot of people don't realize that some buildings here, whether they were built in the 60s, the 30s, or the 70s is historic now. Buildings. And so we have the ability to leverage grants, again, not people, just businesses. So we have the opportunity to apply for grants on behalf of property owners because we are a 501c3 that gives us the opportunity to access and leverage different funding for businesses. We focus on Main Street, but again, we do have the ability to help other areas in Gold Beach. And we also have some knowledge and access to other resources within our network. We belong to the Oregon Main Street Network, which is all across Oregon, but it's also a national organization, and they provide they provide us with information anytime we have a question. So sometimes we can ask questions that business owners maybe have to the network. In here we have different federal, state, and local incentives, and so some of the organizations today we've listed on our brochure as well. We also have the ability to connect you and apply to different programs on your behalf or help you through different applications. One example is the Bike Friendly Business Program through Travel Oregon. There's a list of like 20 things that if you have 5 of them, you can apply to be a bike-friendly business, and then you get advertising and marketing free through their promotion for bike-friendly businesses. And as Julie mentioned, we are a part of the bike trail, so that means that there's some opportunity there. People do spend a lot of money when they're cyclists, because usually they're white, wealthy, and they've got a lot of money in their pocket. So that's an opportunity that we can help businesses apply. It's not a hard application, but sometimes it's just time. And that's what I'm here for, is I'm a volunteer to sort of help businesses in different organizations. I work with other organizations. For example, I'm working with the Chamber. That's why we're here today. I have the time that they maybe don't have, and I do get a little bit of money to do it. So I'm happy to help businesses apply for grants or for different programs. Another is we have a rare participant, so another AmeriCorps volunteer who is working on the Wild Rivers Coast Food Trail right now. They are accepting applications to get your business. I don't know if that will include food trucks, to be honest, but
Yeah, we've spoken with them already.
okay, yeah. So we can help you go through this application process as well to get on the map if you want to be on the map. They do have other trails, the farm trail. So if you decide to open a farm business, then you might be able to be on their farm trail. We can help you with that application. Really, I'm just a person to help connect you to different things if you need it. We do have our committees, which we have just started, and there are 4 different points for that because we recognize that economic vitality really isn't just one different thing. It's not just streetscape to make it beautiful, to make people want to stay. It's also healthy businesses in the entire area. So there are lots of different things that Gold Beach Main Street has the capacity to do.
Could you state your contact information for the television audience?
My whole contact information? Well, right now, the city actually is housing me, so I can be reached at the city hall, usually 9 to 5. My phone number is the mayor's phone number, if you guys want to call me there. So, 541-247-7029. Did I get it? Yes. And then my email is pretty simple. It's coordinator.goldbeachmainstreet@gmail.com. Be reached there. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me. I just figured out my voicemail today. So.
And Brody, you were saying
Yeah.
you had questions about, like you wanted help with marketing.
Yeah, specific. Oh, yeah.
John, that wasn't able to be here tonight, he spoke at our last network meeting, and he has outreach that he can do free. And he said all he needs is just seven people, and he can come down and do classes. And one of the things, he does stuff on social media, and he can do stuff on marketing. So it's not like it has to be a big group of people, and they do that stuff. It's either free or very low cost, right?
It's very low cost.
Yeah.
There will be certain classes that will be free, but most of the traveling ones will have low cost.
Makes sense.
So that's something, and we can, Ariel can get in touch with John, and, you know, like if you have some of your folks that are interested in that,
Right.
they can get you a class.
Yeah, and I think one of the questions on our questionnaire is something like specific to those classes that they offer through school, or I guess it's not SWAC specific.
South Coast Business Center.
Yeah.
They're related to SWAC though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess if there are more questions, or from the presenters, if you feel like there's anything that you want to make sure people walk away having known.
I think the biggest thing is, you know, we have a lot of things that we can't cover in 15 minutes. So, and you get so much that sometimes when you leave, you have questions. That's where you take those resources, those phone numbers or those emails, and just make sure that you know that these things are in your communities. They might not actually be housed in Gold Beach, but they're in the area. They're here to help support businesses. And all 3 of these entities that talked tonight are here to support that. So don't feel like you can't reach out. And if we can't fill that need, or we typically will know a resource that we can at least refer you to.
Sure. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming, for presenting, and this traffic.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.